Good evening. We're going to call the meeting to order, and the first item on the agenda is the minutes from January 6th and January 13th. Is there a motion?
Move to approve, subject to modification.
Okay, going through January 6th, page 1. I'm actually having trouble finding it, so I'm sorry. Okay, page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Hearing no modifications, all those in favor of adopting the minutes say aye.
Aye.
There are no nays. The ayes have it. Moving on to the next set of minutes from January 13. Is there a motion?
Move to approve, subject to modification.
Going through page 1. Page 2.
On item number 4, where it says Ms. D'Agostino suggested adding 2,000 back into the budget, I think it should specifically note back to social services, because that is a particular item that should go to.
Page 3.
Yeah, just one clarification. In the last one where it says Ms. Beckett said that she's not in favor of a symbolic resolution, I think I said I'm in general not, but in this case I am because of the physical location in Williston.
Right. True. Okay. And actually, that concludes the third page, but I forgot to ask for a second to the motion on the first set of minutes in the second. So would someone like to make a motion, second the January 20th, I'm sorry, January 13 minutes being approved?
I'll second.
Okay. And unorthodox, would you also be willing to make a motion on the second, the January 6th approval? I forgot to ask.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. All right. So all those in favor of the January 13 minutes being approved, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. There are no nays. The motion carries and the minutes are passed. Next on the agenda would be public comment. This would be a time for anybody here or participating online to speak to issues that are before the board. We do have a lot of people here, assuming you're not all here for the budget or the amendment to get rid of town listers, although you're missing out. But if there is, so therefore I'm assuming you're here to talk about ICE. I don't want to cut anybody off, but we do have a lot to get through and there are a lot of people here. So I would ask people to please self-regulate, keep your comments to 1 or 2 minutes if you have something to say, and please do identify yourself when you come up. So is there any public comment?
Thank you. I'm Mary Oliphant. I live in Williston and I oppose ICE in our town. I know you, our select board members, are considering a resolution.
Oh, can you just tap the mic so?
Yep,
Yeah, okay.
great. That's all you need to do.
All right,
All
great.
set.
I know you, our select board members, are considering a resolution that will take an official stand against ICE and the surveillance of large amounts of social media activity of U.S. residents threatens our safety and restricts freedom of peaceful protest. The following deceptive practices, masking, not providing identification, and posing as other officials, needs to stop. The racial profiling, family separations, and inhumane detention conditions are deplorable. Let Williston be proud to take a step towards stopping these practices. Thank you for all you do to protect our town and state, but it would be clear to all of us we need to do more. Please pass this resolution.
Anybody else for public comment? Sir, you raised your hand.
Are we allowed to ask questions to the board?
We're not allowed to answer them, but you can ask.
Then I guess my statement would be that I'm not here to...
Your name, please?
Sean Handy.
Thank you, Sean.
I'm not here to oppose ICE or be for ICE or anything else. What I am here as is a property owner that owns commercial property and leases space to different people. And I feel like this could possibly enter into a dangerous territory for Williston if we were to pass something that says whoever owns the property that ICE wants to occupy, you can't rent that space to them. That's the same as a landlord discriminating against somebody because of their particular beliefs or anything else. So I guess I'm here to caution Williston and the select board in passing this resolution that could possibly open Williston up to lawsuits either from the federal government or the person that owns the property that ICE wants to occupy.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Other comments?
My name is Brant Dinkin, and I live in Williston. And one possibility the Select Board is considering is not to make an ICE out of Williston statement. The argument is the Select Board needs to do business as usual because otherwise it will set a precedent. However, Select Board, city councils, and government officials all over the country are saying no to ICE. Why? Because due to the extraordinary situation, it is dangerous to do business as usual. And what is happening in our country is not business as usual. We clearly could be headed to the total collapse of our Constitution if we don't stand up now. The Williston Select Board needs to do the same. The Select Board has the authority to do that. The closure of the Williston Spa, of a Williston Spa several years ago, came days after the building owner was charged with knowingly allowing prostitution to occupy the premises. The town's job is to close down any criminal organization in Williston. Any criminal organization in Williston. ICE is a massive national criminal organization which is establishing one of its hubs in our town. And I use the word criminal as defined by moral civilizations. Moral civilizations. ICE should have been fined and closed down days after it started operating. However, these are not normal circumstances. So all the more important that ICE needs to start by sending a strong, the Select Board needs to start sending, all the more important that the Select Board needs to start sending a strong message. ICE not in our town. ICE not in our town. That the establishment of any criminal organization has no place in our town. Williston has pledged to uphold the United States Declaration of Independence. You are the leaders of this town. What the Select Board says plays a critical role in helping establish the basic standards we live by, the standards in our Constitution. You need to set the example that everyone needs to stand up for democracy. If you don't decide to make a statement or don't say it in strong terms, it goes back to being dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment? People behind you, Edmund. Come on in.
Hi, I'm Lisa Muellerau. I'm a resident here in Williston. I love this town. I'm cutting my thing in half. So if you can just imagine the preamble to the Constitution. You probably know it. But the preamble should be like a guiding light for our leaders to consider when they're governing us, so that we all can have a good idea of how America can be. We need to know that our public servants that our taxes fund, like our local police and state police, will protect us from our government. The Department of Justice, Homeland Security, ICE, and Border Patrol, they aren't a comfort. They are a threat. And basically, I think ICE needs to take off their masks and be accountable for any injustice that happens in our town. And as our town's leaders, I hope you'll keep in mind when doing the town's business that we don't want any stinking flock cameras or any more ICE contracts. Let's not give away our precious data. Instead, let's preserve our resources like water and be a safe haven for the residents. We need to oppose, deny, resist, and remain defiant towards our king. And if you have any energy left, force POTUS to release the Epstein files, charge him with treason, take down the whole administration, and convict Jonathan Ross for the murder of Renee Good. I know that you can't do all that, but thanks for considering it. Thank you.
Okay. Sir? You.
Rob?
Thank you. Rob Mahalik, Williston resident, and this is a really good resolution. I really support that this gets passed and encourage you all to pass this. I was looking into what's been going on with ICE since it's really become kind of a rogue military agent of the administration. And I was looking at all the violations of our constitutional rights, and we're not going to go into it now because we don't have a lot of time, but basically I've noted First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Eighth Amendment, and Ninth Amendment violations by the way ICE is conducting its business. And certainly protecting our privacy is paramount with, as it's relative to the Williston operation. So this is a marvelous resolution, and I just encourage you to pass it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Blaine Paxton, and I'm a 15-year resident of the city of Burlington. I spoke in the public comment period last week about my and others' concerns about the Williston ICE operations, and I also sent you some follow-up information that I hope you found useful. Last week, my comments emphasized the role that the two Williston ICE facilities play in directing ICE's field operations across the country. But equally concerning and directly relevant to tonight's resolution is the nature of the surveillance that goes on, especially at the National Criminal Analysis and Targeting Center at 426 Industrial Avenue. Briefly, here are 3 reasons we should all be very concerned about what happens at that site, and therefore why we need more transparency. Number 1, on October 2nd of this year, ICE released a public request to find new contractors that would help it, quote, scour Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and other platforms, converting posts and profiles into fresh leads for enforcement raids. Again, a quote from the document that also specifically says that these contractors would be at the National Criminal Analysis and Targeting Center at 426 Industrial Avenue. Furthermore, it would even track, quote, negative sentiment on those platforms. Number 2, that same contracting document states that ICE intends to collect data on anyone that meets, quote, ICE enforcement priorities, a very loose term, and its analysts would also be expected to investigate a person's, quote, family members, friends, and coworkers. Notably absent from that statement were any qualifiers, such as only with a valid search warrant or only on non-citizens. Finally, and possibly the most troubling, is in August 2025, ICE reactivated a contract with Paragon Solutions, an Israeli spyware company whose flagship product, Graphite, can hack into any phone without the user knowing, accessing all of its applications, all data, and all functions on the phone, including the ability to turn the user's phone into a covert listening device. Obviously, the most logical place to use such powerful surveillance software would be at ICE's flagship surveillance site at 426 Industrial Avenue. There's obviously much more that we don't know about how ICE is already using or planning to use some of these new capabilities, which is exactly why we need this resolution passed here and in every other town across Vermont. We must all come together in this moment to protect protect Vermonters' privacy rights and the rights of U.S. residents across the country. Thank you.
Other public comment?
It's in the hallway, I don't know if they want to.
I don't know what to do about that. Is there anybody online?
Oh, there's someone in this corner.
Oh,
Oh,
yep.
okay.
This will be very quick. My name is Sky Mandel. I'm a student at the University of Vermont. I just want to quickly remind the civil servants in the room that it is your duty to protect the citizens of Williston and your fellow humans from the terrorism that is ICE. The time to be polite and euphemistic about this is over. ICE is a terrorist organization full of violent social rejects with criminal and abuse records who want to play judge, jury, and executioner with people in our community. They tear apart working families and contribute nothing to our communities but fear and violence. This facility is a stain on the Williston community and our country. Not to mention, it is not helping Vermont's reputation for being a not safe or welcoming place for people of color because of the overwhelming whiteness. And I urge you to take the strongest action to get ICE out of Vermont. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comment? Some in the back? Hi.
Hi, my name is Danny Bolag. I just wanted to say, I think Williston is, like everywhere, a place that is made a place because of its community and because of our friends and neighbors. And I think that complicity with ICE and its actions sends a message to many of those friends and neighbors that we're okay with their deportations and with their deaths and with the breaking up of their families. And so I strongly support this bill. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Sure.
Hi, my name is Durham Metley. I'm a resident of Burlington. I just want to be on the record that I strongly support this resolution, and that's about it. I just want to make sure people know that. And I agree with everyone.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amanda Calder. I live in Winooski, grew up in Shelburne, have many friends in Williston. And I work at Howard Center, support a lot of different people in the community. And I really strongly support this resolution. And I just think right now in our country, like, taking a lot of actions by a lot of people. And like, this matters. I know sometimes in towns in Vermont, we feel like we're small and like what we're doing isn't making that much of a difference with really big things, but it's not true. So I really do urge you to take all the action that you can to like help things go in a better direction with ICE and Williston. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Other public comment? Is there anybody online?
No one that wished to speak. There are some people in the chat voicing support of the resolution.
Great, okay, so noted. Okay, that would conclude the public comment portion of the meeting, and we'll go on to the next agenda item, which is the public hearing on the town charter amendments. So give me a second. So we'll convene the public hearing on the town charter amendments, and pursuant to statute, it has to be read out loud. Under the authority of 17 VSA Section 2645, the Williston Selectboard will hold 2 public hearings to explain and receive public comment on proposed amendments to the Williston Town Charter. The first public hearing will be held Tuesday, January 6. The second will be held Tuesday, January 20, 2026, at the Beckett McGuire Meeting Room, and is also can be accessed by Zoom. The proposed amendment to the town charter are to strike the entirety of Article 14, subsection 3, pertaining to the office of elected lister, and replace it with other language that basically does the same thing but without an elected lister. So the hearing having been opened, is there anybody who wishes to speak on the public hearing issue about the town lister charter change? Shockingly, I'm not seeing a lot of,
I mean, don't all come to the mic at once, I know.
we used to have fence viewers and weighers of coal. This is going to go the way of that. But. Okay. Eric, is there anybody online?
No one online.
Okay. All right. So that, Chair would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move to close the second public hearing on town charter amendments for a town meeting
Is there a second?
2026.
Nope, second. It's me.
All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
There are no nays. The public hearing is closed. That brings us to the next item. Actually, the interview and appointment for the Historic and Design Advisory Committee has been postponed to the next meeting. That would bring us to item 6, then the Unified Planning Work Plan request for fiscal year 27.
Linda's here from the Planning Department, and to remind the board, this is the annual work plan for the Regional Planning Commission. Member communities can submit projects seeking funding with our local match, and we typically have our Planning Department and Public Works Department propose those UPWP requests. They're before the Select Board in your packet this evening. Linda's here to answer any questions the board has. The most significant proposal is the active transportation plan we've discussed recently.
Melinda, do you have comments you wanted to make? Or?
I was just going to provide a really quick overview. So the Planning Department is applying to complete an active transportation plan. That was one of the strategies, actions of our new town plan, one of the top 20 actions. And then the Public Works Department is submitting an application to do a scoping study for Shunpike Road to study an approach for a future multimodal transportation project, as well as a stormwater project to complete closed-circuit television inspections of all the stormwater pipes. This is phase 3 of a project that was started, I believe, last fiscal year. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer those.
Any questions from the board?
My only, I fully support, obviously these projects. My only request is that, we cited that the active transportation plan aligns with the town plan kind of goals and objectives. Just going forward, if we could note specifically for these kinds of things, like which town plan items that we're hitting, so that we can kind of track, our progress that we're making towards those objectives and goals.
Yeah, that's a good point. And this one is, I can't remember the exact number of the objective, but there is a strategy to create a bike ped master plan, and we're calling it an active transportation plan in this request because of the funding source. The actions were basically to develop a plan using public input, to look at where gaps need to be closed and to prioritize those gap closing projects. And then, once the plan is developed, to monitor progress on that plan and to implement the plan using various sources of funding.
Awesome. It's a great first step, so I'm happy to see it happening, and all the public engagement in the town plan. This was certainly a highlight of people's concerns is accessibility and walkability, and bikeability.
Other questions or comments? Ellie, Mike? No? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
There's a motion.
There is a proposed motion. Yeah.
I'll move to approve the projects proposed for inclusion in the Regional Annual Unified Planning Work Program for fiscal year 2027.
Okay.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There are no nays. The motion carries. That would bring us to the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Resolution. Entertain comments or questions or conversation from the board.
Obviously proposed this resolution at our last meeting. and have adapted it for the town of Williston with some additions that I believe reflect our town's values. To further elaborate, I understand that some changes may need to be made just for purposes of legality. But I do believe that it's imperative that we adopt a resolution while primarily symbolic. I think that it does send a strong message that this is not what we as a town uphold as our values and our beliefs, and that we condemn the actions being taken by these federal officials.
I think you did a great job drafting it.
Thank you.
Mike, any?
I agree with the resolution. I sent, an email today. I would just like to see section 1 a little bit stronger and, protecting the rights of everyone in the town of Williston, not by, labeling them necessarily, but also removing the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and just putting any federal agency, because this could come back in later times by other federal agencies trying to restrict the rights of Vermonters and anyone that living in Vermont.
I feel strongly that we need to specifically name Immigrations and Customs Enforcement because currently that is the agency that is most egregious in its violations. However, I would not be opposed to adding and other federal agencies or some language to encompass that it may not be the only agency.
Or any other federal agency, law enforcement?
Yep.
Okay. As I've said in the past, I try to go last because I don't want the chair to alter things. I'm in favor of the concept of this. I'm probably going to disappoint a bunch of people here, though, because I don't know if people know this or not, but you can probably tell from the haircut and the shirt, I'm a lawyer. I didn't wear a suit tonight. Maybe I should. But the state constitution does not apply to the federal government, period. It just doesn't. And I know that because I used to do criminal defense in state and federal court, and the Vermont state constitution provides a lot more support and protection from law enforcement than the federal constitution. And so there would be cases in federal court where a piece of evidence would be inadmissible in the state court, but it's not inadmissible in federal court because the Fourth Amendment doesn't give as much protection as Article 11 under the state constitution. I also looked into and did a lot of legal research on the other aspects of it to see if there's any way that a state constitution can impact a federal law enforcement agency, and the answer is no, it cannot. I wish it could in this circumstance. But by the same token, back in the day when the federal constitution was run by better people, there are state constitutions in the South that say that you cannot hold public office if you don't profess your belief in God. And so it's a religious test. Now, that wouldn't apply to a congressional race. It wouldn't apply to a state race either because it violates the federal constitution. But my point is it's a good indicator that there's no, that state constitutions don't apply to the federal government. So a number of the paragraphs here that instruct the Attorney General to do things relative to the Vermont state constitution are, they're not legally enforceable, and I wouldn't be in favor of them being part of this. So that'd be paragraphs 2, 3, 4, and 5. Well, 2, 3, and 4. And then my concern about the formal opposition to expanding ICE, and I want to be clear, I am very opposed to any expansion by ICE. My concern is that, you know, we could open ourselves up to, in fact, I think we would open ourselves up to a lawsuit about selective enforcement. That, you know, the phrase that I used the last time we were here is true, that, you know, nobody's above the law, that applies to ICE, but nobody's below the law either, and that applies to people who are going to be going in front of our Development Review Board. And I want to say something about that. It was said at the last meeting that we should instruct our DRB to do this or that. We can't. It's a quasi-judicial entity. We have no authority over the Development Review Board. And we shouldn't, because that would open up all kinds of craziness. I keep coming back to like how this would apply in the other way around. And with that, it would be, to me, I would be incredibly offended if before Dobbs happened and Roe v. Wade was the law of the land, if a town in a anti-choice state used their zoning laws to restrict a women's health facility, and they used a fine-tooth comb and came up with any kind of technicality to keep it out of their town when it's not doing anything illegal. On this, I think that what they're doing is immoral and it's evil, but it doesn't violate state law, because state law doesn't apply to them, and we can't use our DRB to start doing things like this. So my concern on that is that I think we need to modify the language in some way that,
So for number 5 in particular, if we removed the word expanded, so the town of Williston expresses its formal opposition to ICE activity.
right,
And just remove expanded, would that negate that concern because it would not, it just opposes the ICE activity in general?
yeah, it would. So that's a really simple and effective way to resolve the problem that I spent way too long talking about.
In terms of the others, in terms of 2, 3, and 4, I am open to suggestions, certainly how to change that wording. Number 4, and yeah, I mean, do you have any?
4, I think, is okay, that the
Okay.
town of Williston urges the Vermont Attorney General and state legislatures to vigorously enforce state statutes and constitutional protections against warrantless digital searches and seizures.
Okay.
That's fine as far as it goes, but again, if people are thinking that that means that the Vermont Attorney General or any other state official is going to be able to enforce state statutes against a federal entity, the answer to that is going to be no. So as long as everybody understands that that's limited, I'm in favor of it.
Okay. But we are supporting them to, you know, pursue every avenue
Yeah.
and making that known.
Yeah.
Okay.
But 3, I mean, there's so much of that, you know, the Attorney General doesn't have the authority to do this, and the state constitution doesn't apply anyway, so I think it'd just be easier just to take that out.
So strike 3.
Yeah. And for that matter, number 2, I guess.
I mean, I think,
we can keep that, but-
yeah, I suppose, slightly, some of that would be encompassed in number 4, asking the Attorney General to pursue, you know, all actions that could be taken.
Yeah. It's just, yeah, and I'm in favor of, I mean, I think number 2 is fine the way it is. It's just, you know, I'm uncomfortable. I'm going to support that, but I'm uncomfortable with it because we're calling upon ICE to disclose something. Great.
I mean, right, will they do that? No, but I think putting it out there is important, and making it known that we expect that, and that, yeah.
Yeah.
So really just striking number 3, then?
And modifying.
And modifying number 5 to remove expanded?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then this is probably the most asinine, dumb thing, matter of history. Town of Williston was chartered before the Declaration of Independence. So we weren't founded on the principles of the U.S. Declaration of Independence. If anything, they were probably founded on us.
All right, so we should change Town
No,
of
I would
Williston
not.
to...
But, you know, the town was chartered in 1763.
Okay.
So.
I apologize.
Anyway, just saying, you know, although, as I was raised in
I
Richmond.
should be better up at my
I was raised in
history.
Richmond, so I don't know why I know that. But, so, as a matter of procedure, would people be comfortable with just voting? I mean, I can read out the modifications.
I think so, and there is language, you know, in the motion to accept the resolution as modified,
Yep.
so.
So, I'm sorry, do we have to read it out loud or not?
Oh, you're the boss on here.
I'm not the boss. Let me do that.
Yeah.
Let me read it out loud. So, all right, even the first part, which is
Okay.
historically incorrect about the timing.
I own it, sorry.
All right. So it goes as follows. Whereas the town of Williston is founded upon the principles of the United States Declaration of Independence, which holds that all persons are created equal and endowed with inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas Article 1 of the Vermont State Constitution establishes that all persons are born equally free and independent, possessing the natural and inherent rights of enjoying and defending life, liberty, and pursuing and obtaining safety. And whereas Williston currently hosts a primary ICE facility tasked with monitoring the social media activities of U.S. residents, utilizing artificial intelligence to screen vast amounts of data, a practice that threatens the constitutional First Amendment rights of Vermonters and anyone residing within the U.S. to engage in political dissent and peaceful protest. And whereas the presidential memorandum of September 25, 2025, directed federal law enforcement to prioritize the surveillance of, quote, ideological, unquote, motivations, specifically targeting dissent regarding migration, border control, and, quote, anti-ICE, unquote, activities, thereby creating a climate of state-sponsored intimidation. And whereas recent federal enforcement actions have resulted in increased violence, including fatalities. And whereas documented reports as late as 2026 indicate a pattern of administrative retribution against federal employees, media outlets, and local jurisdictions that voice opposition to current immigration and surveillance policies. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the town, I would say by the Town of Williston Selectboard, if that's okay.
Sure.
One, that the Town of Williston strongly objects to the use of any facility within the state of Vermont and/or the Town of Williston for the warrantless surveillance of online activities of Vermonters or any U.S. resident by the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement or any other federal law enforcement agency. Two, that the Town of Williston urges the Vermont Attorney General and state legislators to vigorously enforce state statutes and constitutional protections against warrantless digital searches and seizures. Three, that the Town of Williston expresses its formal opposition to ICE activities within Williston and Vermont and requests that our elected federal and state officials take all necessary steps to protect the sovereignty of our state and the safety of all town, state, and U.S. residents. I believe the next would be 4. That the Town of Williston is a safe and welcoming community for all individuals, regardless of immigration status, race, religion, sexual orientation, identity, or gender, socioeconomic status, or ability. So that is the motion before the board. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. There are no nays. The resolution passes. So. So that brings us to the next thing. I thought that was a cowbell for a second. I was gonna harken back. I need more cowbell. I gotta have more cowbell. Okay. So that brings us actually to that concludes that issue, and the next on the agenda is the fiscal year 2027 general fund budget, which is even more exciting.
I'm assuming you're all staying.
Yeah. Town government, man, it is, you know. Let's sign it at the next meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Oh, we'll just sign it at the next meeting, so we can get a clean copy and, make it stamp. Dan, I knew you would stay.
If that was the heart of it, this is the meat and the potatoes of it.
Thank you, thank you. That's what I think.
Yeah.
We're not talking about wastewater tonight, but budget's second best.
You know I would, but I've got homework.
What are you majoring in?
Environmental studies.
Awesome. Oh, glad to have you. You're doing that. It's important work.
Yeah.
Just from an informal basis, I just let you know that I did write a note to the DRB about looking into some of the ice things.
It is your right to do so.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to let you know I did.
I am also minoring in critical race and ethnic studies, so we talk about this a lot.
Yeah. It's all, it's all tied together. And,
Yeah, of course, yeah,
yep.
that's what I focus on. That's why I wanted to take both, because I see the connection.
Absolutely.
So I'm taking this one class called Journalism, Media, and Global Challenges, and I think I will report back, because they like the filming and everything.
Absolutely.
Very interesting.
So I think we've cleared out enough so that we can move on to the general fund budget. Eric?
That's me.
Okay.
I've been fighting a cold, so
Oh.
I will, my voice gets a little scratchy. I might need to grab some water here. So this is our general fund budget update after last week's work session. There's the $180,000 in reductions is reflected in it, and the property taxes to raise reduced following that discussion from last week. Shirley went through and checked everything. She prepared the summary that is included in your packet for this evening to reflect all those changes that were discussed. So the numbers overall, it's a bottom line expense increase year to year of about 6.75%. When we talk about the fire department peak staffing positions funded using ambulance revenue this fiscal year, if you don't factor those into the net increase for next year, that increase year to year is 5.3%. The estimated amount to raise in taxes is just over $9 million, and it's about $570,000 in new property taxes to raise. That's an increase, we estimate, of about 0.24 cents, so just under 2.5 cents per $100 of assessed value for fiscal year 2027 taxes. Those are set after the grand list is finalized in June when the board sets the rate in July. So that tax rate increase is about 6.2%. For a median home assessed at $300,000, that's about a $73 tax increase for the year, about $6 a month. And we looked at this last, of a resident's tax bill, our municipal share is about 15% of that overall tax bill. And the education tax is about 85% or so the last time we looked at it. The estimated fund balance to the operating budget ratio at the end of FY27 that we're projecting is 14.5%. So staff is here to answer any final questions the board has. We feel this reflects your direction and discussion from last meeting. The motion suggested is to accept this budget to place it on the warning. And as we go through our legal items for the board this evening, the warning will be one of the last things you then approve.
I assume Jean has been over this with a fine-tooth comb before she left the country.
Yep. I didn't get any final comments from Jean.
Yeah, I mean, I think it reflects well what we discussed, and yeah, I thank you all for doing such a great job, going over it again and again, and making all the adjustments we requested.
Yep. Team effort as always. So. Great team.
Other questions or comments from the board? pretty well.
I think education's gonna be real important on, getting this passed, making sure, the local paper describes why we're going to the, professional auditor. I know sometimes people just don't understand things. It makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Eric, will you be doing another one of your town meeting TV, like breakdowns of the budget?
Yeah, we'll be filming it this Thursday, and we've filmed a half-an-hour special on the library bond. We've got some outreach in the paper planned, gonna be on the local radio show, and I'll try to get something on Front Porch Forum probably the next day or two after you adopt the warning. And I've done some drop-in sessions to chat with the manager before. I'll probably do some of those as well. But any other ideas the board has, just let me know.
Other questions or comments? Otherwise, there is a proposed motion.
I move to approve the general fund budget for fiscal year 2027 to be considered at town meeting in the amount of $17,015,375, of which $9,010,000 shall be raised by property taxes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, there you go. You can have it, Mike.
The chair recognizes Mike. There. Is there further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 There are no nays. The motion carries.
Thank you.
That brings us to the next item, Village Library Vibrancy Project Bond Documents.
Yeah, so the board's seen these before. I previewed them as our bond counsel prepared for the article on the library and town green bond. So for this evening, considering a declaration of official intent and a resolution of necessity for the capital improvement project. The board would need to adopt these, and then you would have the question on the warning. Had the attorney look over everything a couple times. Let's see if I have any notes on that. You also had copies of the warning form and ballot question, and we've incorporated those for what we'll be doing as well moving forward. So if there's, can answer any questions the board has. If not, there'd be a motion to adopt these resolutions and to sign them this evening.
I noticed that Ted Kenny's name is spelled incorrectly.
Good catch.
Ted,
I'll change my
you did.
Oh.
Let me change my name for that.
I missed it. I will fix it right here.
A number of people who
Bob Fletcher.
ask if Ted Kennedy is around. It's amazing.
Like, best of my understanding, no, not for a long time.
So, other questions or comments for Eric?
Eric, I assume when the date goes in the first paragraph, it'll be changed to 26 from 25 that it says right now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. There's that too. I looked back to see, oh no, that is the day that we need, because that's the day in 2025 the board passed that motion to put this on the warning, so.
If there are no other questions or comments, a motion would be in order.
I'll move to adopt the necessity resolution and declaration of official intent for pursuing authorization from voters for $13,900,000 in bonded indebtedness for the renovation and expansion of the Dorothy Alling Memorial Library and associated improvements to the village green.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Like we're down one. Someone's
Any
got
further discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Or no. Mike, was that an aye or a nay?
Aye.
Okay. There are no nays. The motion carries. And let me pass the resolutions around.
Does all that stuff in bold have to be read out loud?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah. Can we split it? Like,
Wow.
are you gonna, so that the little symbol is SS, right? What's the
Section.
subsection or section?
Section.
Section, okay. All right. Drink some water.
Actually, I'm having trouble finding my document.
Next, what's the?
The charter change. It's in, most of it's in the,
It's in the hearing?
it's in the manager's report.
Oh.
That's why I'm limbering up my, my face.
Do you want to
I will do
read
it.
half of it and then?
Sure.
Okay. You know, this is very similar to a legal doctrine where if somebody's too old or infirm to sign their own will, you can, as the lawyer, you can put your hand over their hand and sign with them. It's called amanuensis.
Oh.
So this is kind of vocal amanuensis. You'll be making the motion, but when you get tired, Ellie will
Okay.
keep reading and be
All right.
you. So that's what the chair rules, and that's what we're going to go with.
Ellie, I'm gonna get to, I'll read the first page if you read the second page.
So the next item is the charter change language warning.
So following the close of your second public hearing this evening on the possible charter changes, there were no public comment. Staff has no suggested changes to the final version that was filed on January 6th after the first hearing. You can consider motions for the charter change and a truncated version of the charter change to appear on the warning and ballot. It is a little lengthy, but I spoke with our attorney on Friday just to make sure we cover all our bases here. And his suggestion was to read all this into the motion. What this is going to establish is putting this on the warning, and it's going to allow a shorter version of it to appear on the warning itself and on the ballot. And we'll have to supply full versions for everyone to have available. Essentially, we're just not including the struck section of the charter. So this is the process to do that.
Okay. Okay.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to, 1, find the charter amendment proposal is too long and unwieldy to be shown in its amended form on the notice and warning for the annual meeting. 2, approve the inclusion of a concise summary instead, and 3, include a statement on the notice and warning that copies of the charter amendment proposal is on file for public inspection in the office of the clerk of the municipality at the town offices, and that copies thereof shall be made available to members of the public upon request. And move to approve the following concise summary for inclusion in the notice and warning for the annual meeting. Shall the town employ or contract a professionally qualified assessor and eliminate the office of elected lister by deleting the title and all of the present text in section 14C3 of the charter of the town of Williston and replacing them with the following underlined text? Section 156 through 14, local elected officials. C, elected officers, duties, responsibilities, and conduct. 3, assessment of property. A, the town shall employ or contract with a professionally qualified assessor who meets prior to conducting any assessment work for the town, the training requirements established by the Director of Property Valuation and Review under 32 VSA Section 4052 as amended from time to time. B, the professionally qualified assessor hired or appointed in A above shall have the same powers, discharge the same duties, proceed in the discharge of those duties in the same manner, and be subject to the same liabilities as are prescribed for listers or the Board of Listers under the provisions of Title 32 Vermont statutes annotated. C, the term of office of any lister in office on the date the town votes to eliminate the office of listers shall expire on the 45th day after the vote or the date upon which an assessor is hired or appointed pursuant to A above, whichever last occurs. And move to 1, find the charter amendment proposal is too long and unwieldy to be shown in its amended form on the ballot for the annual meeting, and 2, approve the voters voting upon the charter amendment proposal in its entirety in the following form as a yes or no proposition.
Shall the town employ or contract a professionally qualified assessor and eliminate the office of elected lister by deleting the title and all of the present text in section 14C3 of the charter of the town of Williston and replacing them with the following underlined text? Section 156 through 14, local elected officials. C, elected officers, duties, responsibilities, and conduct. 3, assessment of property. A, the town shall employ or contract with a professionally qualified assessor who meets, prior to conducting any assessment work for the town, the training requirements established by the Director of Property Valuation and Review under 32 VSA Section 4052 as amended from time to time. B, the professionally qualified assessor hired or appointed in A above shall have the same powers, discharge the same duties, proceed in the discharge of those duties in the same manner, and be subject to the same liabilities as are prescribed for listers or the Board of Listers under the provision of Title 32 Vermont statutes annotated. C, the term of office of any lister in office on the date the town votes to eliminate the office of lister shall expire on the 45th day after the vote or the date upon which an assessor is hired or appointed pursuant to A above, whichever last occurs.
Is there a second?
Second. I'm the only one left.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 There are no nays, the motion carries.
Thank you.
And
A lot
bring
to
us-
read for
Yeah.
everything.
When I was looking through it, I was like, that has to be a mistake. Like, he just bolted all that by accident.
Nope.
Nope.
We muscled through it. Okay, so next on the agenda, Town Meeting 2026 warning.
Yep, so now you're in a position to consider your warning as you've adopted those two elements, or three elements for those articles there. I'll mention for the warning, as we went through one last time, language for the library bond article, it was updated with the final edits from the attorney, just from the previous version. A couple words are different. It's for your attention. We list grants and funds then available in it. The funds then available, that is meant to include any fundraising from a capital campaign to reduce the amount of bonds to sell potentially. We've also updated Article 7 to outline that approving the EMS training reserve fund does not include initial funds, the bracketed text there at the board's request last time. There were a couple word changes made by the town attorney, which were included in that long motion that you just read. In this itself, we didn't change any content of the charter itself, so you didn't need to make any changes to the charter change itself, just some wording in the question. So all that being said, you have this before you to consider your warning for Town Meeting 2026.
Questions for Eric? Comments? If not, there is a proposed motion.
I move to approve the warning for Town Meeting 2026 as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 There are no nays, the motion carries. That brings us to the next agenda item, capital budget and program fiscal years 2027 through 2032.
Jean signed it before her trip, and if it was passed.
Yeah.
So the capital budget, so you've approved in the general fund what will transfer into the capital fund should the voters approve the budget. So we've updated the summary sheet. It's included in your materials that show the funding sources. So everything under operating, that's included in the general fund that we voted on. Impact fees, that's the same. We didn't change anything there. That comes from our impact fee fund. And then the fund balance amounts, that's what you can consider this evening that we've been looking at here. We've made the first action to consider is the board actually has to adopt capital budget each year. So there's a motion to consider adopting the capital budget and plan. Then the following agenda item would be to then assign this unassigned fund balance for these specific projects. I guess I'll hold that until we get to that item. So the first order of business is consider adopting the capital budget and plan.
Questions from the board? If not, there is a proposed motion.
I'll move to assign $184,000 of the unassigned fund balance to the capital fund for projects as identified in the fiscal year 2027 capital budget.
Are we on?
Oh my God.
Went a little ahead.
Sorry guys.
Thought you would adopt it first.
There's no second.
I got so excited. Move to adopt the fiscal year 2027 to 2032 capital plan and program as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There are no nays, the motion carries. Now,
The one I was really excited for.
unassigned fund balance assignment for capital.
I just wanted to mention on this one with a discussion the last couple of weeks, you'll see what we've done here in the last couple of years is try to move away from these for the equipment funds. So this still has more one-time money, like the funds for the fire station, that's a door project. We have a few strategic towards some replacement projects that need some funds to get them to where they need to be. Like the town hall server, we moved some extra money in there as we shifted things around. That's due for replacement in FY27. Bookmobile's due for replacement in a couple years as well, and that fund's a little low, so just trying to get that where it would need to be, we feel, for replacement. The other items in the equipment fund, they've all been kind of drawn down the last few years, or just a way to get the general fund down a little bit by putting a little bit into these other replacement accounts. So we've been able to get these down a bit the last few years. I think in the next budget or two, I anticipate we could eliminate the use of the fund balance towards the equipment replacements. But just to remind the board, we did defer some of the equipment replacements as well, so there will be a little catch-up. We intentionally did that for things that were unscheduled in the 2030s, so we'll keep looking at this year to year, but ideally we can just kind of have in the operating budget, in my opinion, just those funds for the replacement. Hold the fund balance if you use it for capital towards more larger projects, more infrequent one-time funds, to have that available for you. But should have more board discussion on just policy around this moving forward as well.
Questions for Eric? No?
So there's the motion to assign.
There is, yeah.
I move,
Can I make the motion again?
No, Mike, were you about to?
You make, yeah, go.
I'll do it. I move to assign 184,000 of the unassigned fund balance to the capital fund for projects as identified in the fiscal year 2027 capital budget.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 There are no nays, the motion carries. That would therefore bring us to policy priorities for legislative breakfast.
Yeah, so your legislative breakfast is on Monday, February 2nd. What we've done, we talked a little bit about this last week, is if the board wants to have some policy priorities, staff can work to present those at the breakfast. We can have other topics discussed the board would like. Just looking for some direction from you of how you'd like to focus that breakfast, so I can make sure we have the right people there for the discussions. If you want to have some formal policy priorities, we can articulate that as well. It is the second half of the biennium. You don't necessarily have to, you can have as many or as little as you want. You could have some topics you want to make sure are addressed. I include in your packet from the League of Cities and Towns what their priorities are that the VLCT board of directors voted on. The entire VLCT membership structures the policy platform the year prior to the new biennium, so they'll be putting this together at the end of this year, and that's attached here, so you have it as well, what the VLCT policy positions are. A few thoughts I had, you could think about continued discussion on the pilot fund, that surplus of local option tax revenue. I know as we're thinking about other ways to find additional funding out there. I think this is a good discussion to continue. That fund pays the state's pilot payment in lieu of taxes. The state keeps now 25% of each of local option tax revenue. It used to be 30%, so that 5% change was legislation from last year. That surplus in that pilot fund is over 10 million. It continues to grow. As more towns adopt local option tax, that continues to grow as well. So if there was a decision by the legislature to return some of those funds on a pro rata basis to the towns that collected them originally, there could be some one-time money for Williston out of that, potentially used for capital projects in the town or other uses as the board sees fit. So that's one.
Do you have any idea how much Williston's share would be of that?
No, it's a good question. I haven't seen any of the numbers. They haven't. Okay. I don't know if anyone's broken it down that level of detail yet.
I mean, if it's a big chunk of it, I feel like
Yeah.
they're going to be a bigger priority.
That's my assumption. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine it would be a larger chunk, and why wouldn't we support, you know, that? Yeah.
A piece I learned over the weekend is the town of Stowe is considering a charter change to increase their local option sales tax from 1% to 2%. So it's interesting because any town could pass a charter change, but it's contrary to state law. So state law caps it at 1%. So if Stowe adopts this charter change, then it will go start House Gov Ops and.
But they have to approve it, right? So I would imagine they would not approve it.
Yeah, it would be. We ran into this a few years ago when the town adopted some charter changes that the House Gov Ops did not move forward with. The Legislative Council for the legislature would advise is contrary to state law.
I think it's important to state for the record that Williston is not recommending a 2% local option sales tax.
Not today.
So, in the event that did move forward in Stowe, and if it changed in the legislature, then that would be a different discussion.
Yeah.
But just something interesting I saw that's out there coming up for town meeting. So the other ones, I was looking at continued discussion about housing and infrastructure program, continued future application, stabilization of transit funding, as we've talked about Green Mountain Transit and the older adults, persons with disabilities funding. Then just in general, health and human services resources statewide for statewide policies and programs to help address these continued pressures the state is facing. So some ideas there, so for your direction, how you want to focus the breakfast.
I mean, I think right now on everybody's minds, especially as we're in budget season, statewide is taxes and the unsustainable, ever climbing property taxes, but taxes in general. So would love to talk about that. But first and foremost, always for me is housing. I think, you know, so many things come down to housing, lack of housing, inaffordability, and would love to kind of really get into, you know, what policy measures are being taken up to support us at a local level to create additional housing and to support housing. I know you probably are more well-versed, but you, I mean, I know you probably know more, but, and then for me personally also, I watched some of the Colchester Selectboard meeting when they were talking about when Green Mountain Transit was there. And I was brought to tears because their Green Mountain Transit access is really being cut entirely. And what that means for lots of folks there. And so, you know, an inability to get to their employment and no other means. And I realize that we are not in that same position right now here in Williston, but whatever affects our neighbors affects us. And so would love to also talk about, you know, how we're going to sustain transit in the long term in our state.
On housing, aside from CHIP, which would be great to chat about, I know Let's Build Homes has a handful of other housing legislative priorities for the session, so it might be worth digging into any of those to see if we'd want to lend support.
Yeah.
Do you want a specific speaker? Do you want me to see if maybe Matt Belanger could prepare anything about things the town's done? Just kind of an open conversation? Any structure you want?
What was the structure last year? Was it?
We had, I think, maybe 4 of these or so. I think I queued them up a little bit.
Yeah.
We did a lot of the education funding piece.
It came, I mean, it was impossible for education not to be at the forefront last year. I mean, and it, in my opinion, is still very much at the forefront, but yeah, I think if we could maybe just have a couple target areas, and I think, you know, if Matt wanted to speak, I mean, certainly talk about, you know, what initiatives we're doing, or, yeah.
Could focus maybe the housing and transit. It kind of seems like those might be 2 areas.
Those are my personal areas, but I don't know. I don't want to, you know, be the only one guiding. I know Jean just didn't want education to be the focus, she mentioned. She didn't.
Did not,
Yes.
Yeah.
Affordability and rising taxes are a big part of any discussion.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and that I mean, it seems like any conversation about rising taxes is really a question about healthcare. It's a huge part of it. And that, so maybe, the problem is you say, healthcare, let's talk about healthcare.
Yeah.
I feel okay, like, how do you mean that exactly? I don't know how we would package that to be an agenda item, but affordability, taxes, and healthcare.
I mean, even maybe like what, obviously we know that something like 33,000 Vermonters have been impacted by the cutting of ACA subsidies. So just, kind of, how we're addressing statewide kind of the further hits.
Raising taxes never made anything more affordable.
And then but within the healthcare thing also, the fact that, we didn't get hit as hard as we have in the past with healthcare costs rising for the town government.
Yep.
But we did get hit. And I can't imagine that threat is abated forever.
Right, and with Blue Cross now, kind of severing somewhat their partnership with the UVM Health Network, that's going next year. I suspect we're going to see even bigger hits.
Something's going to happen.
I could reach out to Senator Lyons just about that topic, as she chairs the Senate Health Committee. And that committee is vital in a lot of these reforms from last year, so maybe just ask for an expanded conversation.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Am I remembering correctly that like each of the legislators gets a couple minutes to talk about some of the stuff they were working on? I kind of thought that.
They did last year, yeah.
Up to you if you want that format.
I don't know.
I'm
just trying to figure out how we're.
I just want to, make sure we have time for everything.
If we have a lightning round, I'd be okay with that, but like you literally get 90 seconds. I know that, but my concern is that, people get up and they talk about what they're working on, and that's good. I'm not criticizing what they're working on, but a lot of, well, maybe not a lot, but there are some legislators whose main focus won't have much to do with why we're there.
Fair. But yeah, like you said, Senator Lyons is, relevant for this one, and Burkhart could potentially be relevant
Yeah, I was
for,
gonna say, she's
like
everything.
Stuff and everything.
Yeah.
Do you want me to invite anyone, maybe Amy Brewer?
I was just thinking Amy,
She's chairing Green Mountain Transit.
Yeah, would love to talk about,
I think she RSVP'd, she could make it too. So I can talk to her a bit more about that. Yeah, so our program, it starts at 8, and then we kind of blocked off 8:30 to 10-ish just for overall discussion and everything. So I could maybe write something up, and if you want, Ted, we could kind of go over an agenda for the meeting potentially, and let's do get to chat a little bit more about it with the direction the board has this evening.
It technically is a select board.
It is.
Would it be a good idea to have someone from Homeland Security or ICE come and represent themselves and maybe just see that, the community that they're living in and being part of, humanizing us?
I think that's a good idea, but I don't know that this is the right forum for that. And I'm not sure.
I think they should be part of some type of discussion, though. I think they should not be hiding, but they're hiding like a bunch of chickens behind their mask,
I feel
anybody can hide behind a mask and talk or do something with a gun.
Yeah, I think a legislative breakfast may not be I think if we did, that would become the talking point, and probably the only talking point. And while I think that we have a lot of things to talk about with them, I do think that there are obviously a multitude of pressures that are impacting our state and our town, and so I would not want it to get those other conversations to get waylaid by that.
Yeah, I agree.
But I like where your head's at.
Some type of, yes, thank you, some type of future,
Yeah.
invite them to a select board meeting.
Yeah, something to think about. Okay, so does that?
Yeah, so I'm hearing kind of if you want to make a priority statement,
Mm-hmm.
the board would be looking at housing, transit funding, and affordability, encompassing taxes and healthcare.
Yep.
Thank you.
So that would bring us to Older Adults and Persons with Disabilities Program update.
Yep. So since our last discussion, there was a lot of moving pieces with this as well, so good segue. I shared with you just an email update I'd received from the general manager for the program. They're going to delay the changes to February 23rd. In addition, they've added a community can decide to opt out and not accept any of the new ride restrictions, but they would not receive any federal funding and would manage it all itself. I'm not recommending that we do that, suggesting that. I think just want direction. You gave me how to proceed with the 10 social personal trips per month. There's no formal action required. I just wanted to give you the update from Green Mountain Transit, and if there's consensus, I'll proceed with alerting them. That's our plan moving forward, and we'll continue to monitor this moving ahead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mike, you're in agreement?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. So that would bring us up to the annual highway mileage certificate.
Yep, simple.
The most shocked they didn't stay for this one.
I know.
So for this, every year, Vermont municipality needs to adopt its highway mileage certificate, and this all ties back into what we get for state aid for our Class 2 and Class 3, primarily highway mileage. Nothing new this year, but it's something the select board has to do every year per statute, so there's a motion to consider.
I feel like this is the first year, there's been like slight adjustments every year. Like this is the first year I think we haven't had one.
It's actually a surprisingly important administrative thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, absolutely. it's.
I had a case once where this came into it because the town did not have it as a town road that my client was fighting over, claiming it was a town road. And it was really excited. It was one of those things that made you really excited to be a lawyer, that you got to do a prescriptive easement road case. It was like, wow, they should make TV dramas about that. All right, so that being said, there is, I believe, a motion.
I'll move to approve the 2026 Certificate of Highway Mileage.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 There are no nays. The motion carries.
There's a spot I started the warrant. Sign it.
And that would bring us to manager's report.
Just to highlight a couple things for the board. So I included our annual equalization study that we get from the state every year. We know we need to do the reappraisal. The indicator used to be the CLA number if it fell under 80%. Now it's the coefficient of dispersion number. If that increases over 20%. But we haven't done reappraisal in, it's been more than 6 years, so that's requiring us to be coming up with our plan this year for the reappraisal. It's interesting to see our CLA now is 57.79%. And there's a change a couple years ago to have an adjustment statewide. So that's changed to 82%. That's applied to the education tax rate. But the interesting thing in talking with our assessor's office with all this is our coefficient of dispersion. And this is the average deviation of sales ratios, assessed values divided by the sales price for the median. A high COD means many taxpayers in the town are paying more than their fair share, and many are paying less than their fair share. So a COD over 20% requires that reappraisal under state law. The market ratio using the CLA was what we formerly used, under 80%. So our COD ratio is 10.8%, which is well from the reappraisal requirement threshold with that metric, even with a low CLA. So it's interesting that's the data here, but for all, it's, the board can also appeal this annually, this equalization study. Sometimes you may have, like, the assessor would flag something that didn't agree with how something was factored in here. We've done that a couple times, and we've won an appeal a couple times. There's no recommendation to do that this year. And what we will be doing moving forward is working to get a request for qualifications posted for the reappraisal. Trying to get that posted by early February to get someone on board here this spring. And that will take a couple years to complete, but we'll get it moving along here. Is there any questions the board has on any of that?
Just a point of clarification, the CLA and the COD, that's primarily going to affect our educational tax rate.
Right,
So, yeah.
the CLA will, as it factors into the education formula still.
But the COD does not.
It does
Just the
not,
CLA.
just the CLA still.
Okay.
Have we heard
Because they
from
try
the-
to equalize the grand list, that they still
Yeah.
use that one. Okay.
I'm
So
sure
there were those
Jean,
nuts and bolts things
Jean's
that
like ears
becomes
are ringing wherever
harder
she
to
is right now. I'm sure she has.
And I also received the letter from our fire union to open negotiations for a successor agreement. This is the window under contract to do that. We plan to open those negotiations probably in February, as the contract wraps, sunsets in June. And again, a reminder, your next select board meeting is a legislative breakfast, Monday, February the 2nd, coming up just less than 2 weeks.
So we are not meeting next week.
We're not meeting next week. The warning is approved, so you do not.
I'm gonna miss you all that 2 weeks off.
So does that mean we don't meet on the 3rd, or do we meet on the 2nd and the 3rd?
Both.
Both, okay.
You make up for not next week.
Okay.
Doubling up.
That's all I have for my report.
Okay. Other business?
One that came in this afternoon, liquor license renewal for the Majestic 10 movie theater. It's 2 days, it's coming up on the 5th of February. We haven't, you might recall last year they looked to be serving alcohol in the movie theater. I haven't had any issue with that report to us. The state gave them their license after you approved it locally. And now these all go on a 12-month cycle from when the license was issued initially. We used to do everything was April 30th to May 1st each year. So Town Clerk Sarah Mason shared this with me before the meeting. We talked about it a little bit this afternoon. If you want to consider a motion to approve renewal of the first-class license for the Majestic 10, you could do so this meeting if you'd like.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve. Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there discussion or questions?
You said there was no issues with it, and they had outlined like a bunch of steps that they were gonna take to make sure that alcohol wasn't being served to minors or wasn't being served and things like that. Do we know if they followed through with those steps? I mean, I have been to the movies, but I haven't admittedly been to that area of the movie theater, so.
Yeah, nothing, as I understand it, for the state to give them their license, they would have had to go through all those level of detail for the state to do it. Nothing, nothing that we typically follow up with on our municipal level, as DLC would regulate it.
Yeah, okay.
But I haven't heard any concerns from
Yeah.
any residents or anyone in general.
So, if there are no other questions, the motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 There are no nays. The motion carries. Is there any other business?
That is it.
Okay. Any final thoughts on items from this meeting? Anybody?
I had a question. Where does the ICE resolution get published?
I don't know, but I know that we actually, because there were so many amendments to it, Eric is gonna get a clean copy for us to sign.
Okay.
After that, it's like, I assume it's like any other town resolution, that just be on the town website, but am I wrong about that?
It's up to you. You know, probably we'll record it for the town records, but if you wanted me to post it anywhere specifically, I could.
Front
Just take
porch
your
forum.
direction on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Front porch forum.
That'd be great, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just to save you a lot of time and effort with people calling and wanting to know what comes next.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
the same step.
Yep.
Yep. So, okay. If there are no other final thoughts, then I will declare that we are adjourned.
Early, might I add. I know, I would also like to point out that I think I know why Jean's out of the country, because this would not have fit in her binder.